The social and religious disorder at the late 1430s through 1460s was just beginning to unfold as the converso ascendancy in the Kingdom of Castile abruptly collapsed. Although it is difficult to ascertain exactly when and why converso's social and religious position in society deteriorated, it appears likely due to a series of mid-15th century events that began to cast them as outsiders in Castilian societies. Those who considered themselves to be old Christians increasingly viewed conversos as fundamentally different and disparagingly referred to them as new Christians. Old Christians targeted their wrath particularly on elite conversos, especially when King Juan II relied on this group to implement unpopular measures, such as his efforts to raise taxes to fund the war with Islamic Granada. In 1448, when the king turned to his powerful converso advisor and royal favorite, Alvaro de Luna, to oversee the collection of 1 million maravedís from the city of Toledo for the Andalusian War, the city's leaders and inhabitants revolted. Not only did Pedro Sarmiento, the mayor of Toledo, lead the charge against de Luna's hand-selected converso tax collector, Alonso Cota, but the mayor and an angry mob burned Cota's house down. Furthermore, from the mid to the late 1400s, new forms of societal and institutionalized discrimination focused on conversos. In the aftermath of the 1449 riots in Toledo, the local city council implemented new limpieza de sangre ordinances to exclude conversos from prominent and profitable offices. These discriminatory statutes spread across Iberia to other municipalities, church institutions, and even the royal bureaucracy, complicating the environment for elite conversos, with the internal battle lines drawn between Constable Alvaro de Luna, who counted on the Santa Maria family for support during his darkest days, and the new noble Estuniga clan, which was determined to see de Luna fail. Rising to the defense of his family and other conversos during this era was Bishop Alfonso de Cartagena, the son of Bishop Pablo de Santa Maria and brother of Gonzalo Garcia de Santa Maria, the former Bishop of Plasencia. Alfonso was a powerful voice for the fair treatment of conversos, arguing in a letter known as In Defense of Christian Unity to King Juan II that not only were all Jews and Christians part of a common humanity, but the Jews who converted to Christianity were fully sanctified by the act of baptism. Read out to Fernan Diaz de Toledo, a fellow converso and royal secretary, extended the line of these arguments in his 1449 letter to a friend Lope de Barrientos, Bishop of Cuenca. Fernandez stated that, quote, sacred law dictated that conversos and old Christians were, quote, brothers. He further argued that the Castilians held misguided positions on blood purity because old Christians and Jewish families had heavily intermarried in the preceding decades, and demonstrated within the ranks of the new nobility. This point was vociferously articulated 100 years later by Cardinal Francisco Mendoza y Boldil in El Tizón de la Nobleza, or The Stain of the Spanish Nobility, a memorial that was published in 1560 that indicted the nobility for its hypocrisy and long-standing Jewish ancestries. Contextualizing these historical events is a complicated task, but Sephardic historian Jane Gerber expertly explains that 15th century conversos lived in a perpetual state of cultural marginality. She identified three groups of Spanish Jews that existed after 1391: those who openly continued to practice Judaism, those who became conversos and remained so, and those who privately renounced their forced baptisms, secretly maintaining their adherence to Judaism. Gerber's position is critical because she accurately describes how, by the mid-1500s, many old Christian Castilians viewed conversos as Jews. The author adds, quote, by the middle of the 15th century, there simply was no easy answer to the question of who was a Jew or a Christian. But for most of the population, the conviction began to spread that Jewish ancestry or race, not professed religious belief, defined who was a Jew after the purity of blood statutes. These conversos were now isolated as a new class, neither Jewish nor Christian, that could not be assimilated and could not be redeemed. Close quote. Jane Gerber's position, one that I subscribe to, exposes the troubled identities of conversos. Conversos, and for that matter Moriscos, Muslim converts to Christianity, can only be described as hybrid identities that drew from a mixture of religious, lineage, and racial identifiers. For the Santa Maria family, the Álvarez de Toledo family, or the Señores de Oropesa, and even the Estoniga clan, the Conde de Plasencia and Béjar, their identities no longer could easily be delineated or categorized because of the Jewish question. It should be noted that by the late 15th century, many noble families began a systematic process of hiding and destroying evidence of their conversion and their converso ancestries. In fact, it was not until the early 17th century that the descendants of the Santa Maria family received a special papal dispensation from Pope Clement VIII, who ruled from 1592 to 1605, granting them limpieza de sangre, or cleanliness of blood.